This is Gabriel Gonzalez for Cage Side Press here with upcoming prospect Skyler Maverick, who takes on Kimberly Morales this Saturday at Synergy FC. So first off, Skyler, second professional fight, moving down to 25. Just how are you feeling ahead of everything?
I'm actually feeling great. Since this is my first time going down to 125. I was a little bit nervous for making the weight, but actually it's been pretty easy for me. And right now I'm not that far above the weight that I'm supposed to be, and I'm feeling great. So I'm not really nervous for the fight or for the weigh-ins now.
So, for fans who are looking on Tapology and trying to figure out more about you, there's a lot of information missing. So, I'm going to ask you some basic questions. First off, we could tell you're one of the younger prospects. How old are you? Because that's not listed anywhere.
I'm actually 18 years old.
18 years old, second professional fight. I don't think I have to tell you this. A lot of people your age, they're probably just getting done with high school. They're thinking about going to work, maybe starting some college, junior college, and you're out here fighting as a professional. Can you just talk to me about, I guess taking this path so young? Because I think even most people, they start getting their fights probably around in their early 20s, not necessarily their teens still.
Uh, well, I just like to get things started as early as I can. The way I've been raised, Dad's always been like, just as young as you can, start what you know. And whenever you get something that you want to do, take it and run with it. And as soon as I knew I wanted to do MMA, I just took it and ran with it. I know most people my age are still not doing much, but I just I wanted to be a little further ahead. So even though, despite my young age, I wanted to get it started now.
Can I ask, what do your friends your age think about what you're doing? Because I'd imagine, 18, and it's like, oh, well, I'm probably gonna get ready for college. And then, hey, Skylar, what you got? Well, I got a fight coming up. And I'm like, what? How do it must, you must make some people feel a little insecure about getting their lives going. I have to imagine that's come up at least once.
They haven't really said that I make them feel insecure. They're just like, that's crazy. And every time I tell them, they're like, you don't even really look like that type. I look like a farm girl to most people because I wear the leather belt and the boots all the time. And they're just kind of shocked whenever I tell them. And then they're like, I don't know how you're balancing school, home life, and MMA and having to cut weight and everything. I'm like, you just can't take a break. It's just a constant work ethic. You can't just sit around or sleep in all the time. You got to constantly be working, where most teenagers don't want to do that.
Well, ain't that the truth? Another question I have is that, at 18, I'm assuming you've just graduated high school. Are you also balancing some college right now?
Yes, I did graduate this year, and I am actually going to OTC here in Springfield. And I just started school 3 weeks ago. So, yeah, I'm balancing out school and my weight cut and this fight and all my training. And it's been a little bit crazy these last 2 weeks, but I'm keeping it all balanced out.
Can I ask what degree are you pursuing right now?
Criminal justice.
Oh, so obviously, that is not a little degree to pursue. Do you plan to kind of balance the career and keep going, like take fights, but also, do stuff outside of MMA with a full-time career?
Yes, I do plan on that. I want to take this MMA career as far as I can.
And then in criminal justice, what are you looking to do at the same time?
Um, Probably be a conservation agent, but most of the time you can't really go to those sort of jobs until you've been a police officer and experienced all the lower stuff first. So I'll start out as a police officer, move on to conservation agent or something like that.
Oh, well, you're just looking to lay down the law in and out of the cage then. I admire that a lot. Can I ask what made you want to get into that?
Just I always thought about being a doctor. I knew that I wanted to help people, but being a doctor wasn't really my way of helping people. Uh, just doing the things that nurses and doctors that do surgery do, I probably couldn't do. When I saw that my brother had cut his hand open, I couldn't really stand aside of that. And so I knew that probably being a doctor wasn't for me, but I still knew I wanted to help people. And I knew that being a cop or something would help people in a way by getting the criminals off the streets.
Well, certainly noble profession. I wish you the best of luck. Now, for people who have obviously seen your last name, it is no coincidence you are the younger sister of current UFC prospect Miranda Maverick. I've talked with Miranda a few times. I'm sure you've seen it as she posts it, but just how did you get involved in martial arts? Was it at the same time that she, got into it when she was younger?
No, actually, Miranda started it, of course, a long time ago. And I think I would have been around 12, and I definitely did not want to do that at that time. I hated the idea of fighting, but my whole family is like, "You'd be a great fighter. Why don't you try it?" And I was like, "No." So I got into high school and I just did wrestling. And I was like, I like wrestling. I think I'll go to college and wrestle. And then when I got out of high school and started trying to find colleges, to get like my wrestling scholarship. There just wasn't that great of options, and I didn't like the way that college wrestling was perceived. They said it was like miserable, and I was like, I want to have fun, not be miserable while I'm wrestling. And so I was like, you know what? Why not try MMA? It'll get me further in life than wrestling will. And so the next week after I decided to do MMA, I was in the gym at Springfield Fight Club, and that's where it started. There was at 18 years old. I just started training 5 months ago. So
Oh my gosh, I did not realize you were that green in the game. And you've already had one pro fight, no?
technically, it was their amateur fights.
Okay, okay, okay. The amateur fight. You know what? So, I guess my question, first off, most importantly, what were you? You seem very chill, just as your sister is. What the heck is it that your parents say? You'd be a great fighter.
Um, since I'm the youngest, I have kind of a temper, and so whenever I get mad, they're like, "Why don't you take it out on some girl in the cage?" And because whenever I get mad, I'll actually start swinging, and they're like, "Miranda won't just go out there and start swinging. You will." And so they're like, "Yeah, you should definitely go in there. You kick some girls' butts, and I'm stronger." They just and a little bit taller than Miranda, so they just thought I'd make a good MMA fighter. I was like, I guess I'll try it. And then when I did, I really liked it, and so I was like, let's do this.
You know what? That just is hilarious because she seems so chill, and I'm like, I can't imagine that. But oh my goodness, I love it. To ask you, I asked her this, and I feel like you must have stories too. What has it been living a life full of Top Gun references and puns?
It actually I don't get out all that much, but since I have kind of been going to college, I've gotten out a little bit more. And it's usually not from people that I know. They don't usually make the jokes, but sometimes people will be like, "Oh, did you take that from Top Gun?" Or they'll mention something about the movie, but it's honestly not been that bad. And most of the time, I think they're just too scared to say anything.
You don't hang out with like a guy and people are like, "Oh, so is that Goose?" That doesn't happen to you too much.
No, I don't hang out with that many people, to be honest.
All right, you keep it chill. I get that. I get that. Your nickname obviously sounds cool when you say it out loud with the announcer, but how did you fall on the name Havoc?
Uh, it was actually funny. I actually came up with it before I ever started MMA. I was like, if I was an MMA fighter and I just started with like I tried to rhyme something with Maverick and I was like Havoc Maverick. That sounds pretty good. And so I told Miranda, I was like, if I ever did MMA, my nickname would be Havoc. And now that I've started doing MMA, Miranda's like, so are we going with Havoc? And so I said yes, and she said yes, and everybody likes it. So that's what we went with.
There you go. There you go. And then just secondly, she has told me like, you know what, my sister's coming up. Like people talk about the Valentina, Antonina, the Shevchenko sisters, and she said, "Watch, give us a little bit, we'll handle it too." I mean, I guess what is that? Just having that relationship. Obviously, you have a sister who's walked the path a little bit already. How much of a benefit is that as you're really taking off with your career now?
Oh, it's definitely like a huge benefit for the weight cuts. Miranda's given me a lot of tips on how to cut weight and how I should be training whenever she comes home. She's training with me and showing me everything from UFC level MMA. And so that's amazing for me. And, all the great tips that she gives me. Honestly, I don't know if I would have gotten into MMA if she wasn't in the UFC because I would have been like, I'll never make it to the UFC. That's for famous people because it just seems unreal. But Miranda's in the UFC and like I could do that. I think I could be like that. So it's definitely a huge boost for me in the MMA career.
This Saturday, second fight, Kimberly Morales. Just what's the word on the street? Obviously, still taking off in her young career too. Just what have you heard about what she brings to the table as an opponent?
A couple of people said she looks like she has some pretty good striking, and from the pros from her, that's all I've really heard. Besides that, I watched her last fight, and everybody else has watched her last fight, and they're just saying, I'm going to murder this girl. That's pretty much all there is to it. They don't really say that. I've not heard a single person say, I don't know, you should be a little bit nervous. Everybody's like, you're going to go out there and murder this girl. So I haven't heard anything against me or that she's better than me.
They haven't. I guess here's the thing. I don't know necessarily that I would want my friends. It's like, hey, Gabriel. It's like, I don't know, man. You sure you got this? It's like, what do you mean? Am I sure I got this? You're sure? They're keeping it straight with you. They're keeping it 100. You get what I
Yeah,
mean?
there's been one or two of my buddies that'll just mess with me and be like, you sure you can beat this girl, just to see if I'll get nervous, but they're just joking.
Okay, okay, just checking in. I'd be like, what you mean? Do I got this? Of course they're gonna tell me, yeah, All right. And then finally, just for yourself, I mean, what do you want these next few years as you're really developing your career to look like? Are you someone who's just trying to stay consistent with getting fights and then moving from amateur to pro and just trying to get on the LFA, the just fight past radar to get to the UFC kind of deal? Is that what you're looking to do, Skyler?
Yes, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm gonna get at least 7 amateur fights in. Hopefully, I win all of them, and then go pro probably next year. I'm hoping, and then when I go pro, I'm looking for Invicta, from Invicta to UFC. Just as simple as that.
And then finally, for fans, as they look back on, just the early days of your career and they start to follow you and get to know you a bit, what do you want fans to know about who you are, both in and out of the cage?
Um, I want to know that I'm not a fake person. I know a lot of people that are famous will go on social media and act totally different than what they actually are, or when they have a sponsor and they show things on their Instagram or Facebook, it's like totally fake. I'm not. Everything that I say on all my posts is 100% true. I'm not going to lie to anybody about my feelings toward things, and I'm not going to be fake about who I am. So who I am on Instagram and Facebook, all the social media platforms, that's who I am outside of it as well.
Well, look, certainly it's been nice getting to know you. I'm sure we will be talking many more times as your career goes on, so I look forward to it. So, Skyler, best of luck. Thank you for the time. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Skyler Maverick taking on Kimberly Morales this Saturday, September 10th at Synergy FC. You guys are not going to want to miss it.